Hello, my name is Matthew Bistry, and this is a brief overview of the philosophical perspective of animalism and the thinking animal argument. As a bit of background, animalism exists in the philosophical conversation surrounding personal identity and personal ontology. The debate around personal identity asks what kind of thing we are fundamentally or essentially. As in, what are we at our most base level? Are we our body, our mind, our soul? Do people even persist through time? Many perspectives and arguments have been shared, but for our purposes can be simplified into two schools of thought: dualism and physicalism. Dualism, or mind-body dualism, posits that the mind and body are fundamentally separate. In dualism, the mind is immaterial. Think a soul or essence of somebody, which has an influential relationship with the physical world through a physical body. In this view, the mind and body are distinct entities. In stark contrast, there is the physicalist argument, which posits that there is no separation between the mind and body, which includes consciousness as a physical phenomenon. In other words, the physicalist conflates all aspects of one's identity as material. The core of animalism is a physicalist perspective that we are biological at our core. Our identity is intrinsically locked to us being human animals. This biological form is an essential part for us humans. We can have many qualities, i.e., a student, a citizen, etc. But if we take them away, we still remain human. Should we take away our status as a Homo sapien, then we would fundamentally cease to be. Additionally, we are numerically identical to what we refer to as our bodies. We are not constituted by our bodies as a statue may constitute, or as a lump of clay may constitute a statue. Our bodies are us as one being. Our persistence through time is tied to that of our biological functions. Examples would be continuing our metabolism, breathing, blood circulation, and anything that keeps us alive allows us to persist through time. Life enables persistence and structural continuity despite material turnover. Another core tenet of animalism is the evolving status of personhood. Put simply, animalists believe that personhood is a temporary phase of a of a of an animal of an animal's existence. Personhood is a state reliant on rationality, consciousness, and self-awareness. Therefore, personhood is not limited to humans, but to a variety of agents like God or a strong AI. Now, a simple yet powerful argument for animalism is that of the thinking animal problem, which fundamentally posits that, one, there is a human animal occupying your chair. Two, this human animal is thinking. Three, you are the thinking being in that space. Therefore, we must conclude that the human animal occupying that space is you. The thinking animal problem puts an interlocutor in a bind in which denying any of the premises would seem ridiculous. Denying the first premise would imply that there are no animals, nor would there be a human Homo sapien species in your chair, which would seem to be ridiculous given a rudimentary understanding of the world. Denying premise two would be similarly ridiculous, as it would imply that animals don't think, which would be quite absurd, as clearly humans possess the quality of thought, which can be shared with other animals such as whales. Denying premise three presents other difficulties, as it will require at least one other thinking being in your chair. Should that be the case, other epistemic questions would arise, such as which of those thinking beings is you fundamentally? Therefore, we ought to conclude that the Homo sapien that is sitting in your chair is us. Several attempts have been made to refute the thinking animal problem. Here are just a few objections. The constitutionalist, which believes that the human animal simply constitutes us, as in a statue constituting or being constituted by clay, will deny premise three on the grounds that it is ambiguously worded. It could refer either to the person who thinks in their own right, or to the human animal, which thinks only in a derivative sense, through constituting the person. Additionally, the animalist would struggle to account for cases regarding cerebrum swaps or mind uploads. The animalist would reduce these cases as similar to that of other bodily swaps, such as the liver or heart transplants. Even if the mind may retain previous memories or identities from a previous body, which would seem like an unintuitive answer on the part of the animalist. This view also grants or retracts personhood according to the individual's psychological state. As stated previously, entities like an advanced AI or God or other spirits would be granted personhood, but should someone exist in a vegetative state or as an embryo or baby without certain mental capabilities, they would not be deemed as persons. Similarly, if someone is nothing but their body, how do we determine those without certain body parts, such as amputees? Finally, the thinking parts problem follows the same logic as that of the thinking animal problem, only it posits that us being a thinking being is not reliant on us being an animal. For instance, our brain is a crucial organ for thought. Therefore, we could reword the thinking animal argument, replacing human animal with that of the head, or just the brain, or as an entire upper body, or any other infinite number of non-identical thinking parts of us. But since you could be identical with no more than one of those things, we should reject the argument. Providing a response to the thinking parts argument, an animalist could argue that segmenting a human will only preserve their personhood so long as the essential biological components are there for life and thought. That of the brain, the lungs and heart, the kidneys, the liver, the stomach and intestines, blood, veins, and other large arteries, until we can extrapolate even further to all necessities to contribute to life and thought. Finally, what we end up with is relatively a whole human person, which should support animalist reasoning. Thank you so much for watching.